Welcome to The Explainer. Today we're diving into a pretty wild theory, one that connects the way we're building artificial intelligence with, well, the biological state of modern man. Okay, so let's jump right in with a strange modern coincidence. We're talking about two trends that you'd probably never think to link together. But the source we're digging into today says, nope, this is no coincidence at all. So what do overly polite AIs have in common with a global health crisis? Yeah, I know, it sounds like the setup to a really weird joke, but the argument here is that there's a deep cybernetic link between them. And cybernetic here just means a self-regulating system. Basically, the author's saying there's a single process secretly driving both of these things. And here are the two pieces of the puzzle, side by side. On one hand, you've got AI models that are just meticulously trained to sound like they're reading from a corporate HR script, right? They're always apologizing, they're super non-committal, they avoid conflict at all costs. And then on the other hand, you have this relentless, decades-long drop in key markers of male health. Pretty stark when you see it like that. So just to be super clear here, the author isn't saying these are two separate problems that just happen to look similar. No, they're arguing that this is the same dynamic playing out in two different arenas, in our tech and in our own biology. It's one big underlying process. Okay, so to really get how that's even possible, we need to first take a look at a concept from evolutionary biology. It's called the domestication syndrome. So what is that? Well, just think about how we got a friendly golden retriever from a fearsome wolf. That's domestication in action. And it's not just about making an animal friendlier. When you consistently select for tameness, you get this whole package deal of other changes, physical and cognitive. What's really fascinating here is the how. It's not some kind of magic, it's a biological cascade effect. This hypothesis from 2014 suggests that when you breed animals to be less aggressive, you're accidentally messing with these critical neural crest cells in the embryo. And since those cells are like master regulators, changing them ends up changing everything from the shape of the face to how the animal handles stress. Now, the source material's original title, as you can see, uses some pretty provocative language. The author claims the point isn't just to be shocking, but to cut through all the academic jargon and force you to see the raw mechanism they're describing, a system-level process that, in their view, is selecting for docility and compliance across the board. All right, so now let's apply this whole idea. We'll look first at how this might have played out in humans over thousands of years, and then how it's happening to AI, but on a ridiculously fast timeline. So the theory goes like this. For tens of thousands of years, we've basically been domesticating ourselves. Think about it. Societies that punished the disruptive, aggressive individuals and rewarded the cooperative ones, well, they were just more likely to survive and thrive. We were unconsciously breeding for tamer traits, generation after generation. And you can actually see the physical evidence. This is wild. Compared to our ancestors from the Stone Age, our skeletons are more slender, our faces are flatter, and our brains have actually gotten smaller by 10 to 20%. These are the classic textbook signs you see in domesticated animals. But, and this is a really critical distinction the author makes, not all aggression is the same. You've got reactive aggression, that's the hot-headed, impulsive violence that tears a group apart. Taming that is obviously a good thing for civilization. But then there's protective aggression, the instinct to defend your family, your community, your values. And the danger, the argument goes, is that in our quest to get rid of the bad kind, we might be accidentally eroding the essential kind. Okay, now let's pivot to AI. Because here, a very similar process is happening, but at light speed. The techniques we use to align AI, like RLHF, reinforcement learning from human feedback, are essentially a form of digital domestication. We're training these models for tameness, rewarding the answers that are agreeable, polite, and, frankly, a little sycophantic. And just like biological domestication makes animals look more similar, this digital domestication reduces the diversity of ideas. This can lead to something called preference collapse, which is a fancy way of saying the model becomes so eager to be agreeable that it basically erases minority viewpoints. It just starts assigning a near zero probability to anything that isn't the mainstream opinion, even if those other views are perfectly valid. So this is where it all comes together. The two threads, human domestication and AI domestication, twist into what the author calls a really dangerous cybernetic cycle, a self-reinforcing feedback loop between us and our own creations. And here's how that loop works. Step 1. We, as increasingly domesticated humans, build AI systems that are optimized for maximum safety and agreeableness. Step 2. Those AIs give us sanitized, conflict-free answers. Step 3. We get used to it. We start to prefer these easy interactions, and we start offloading our own critical thinking. And finally, step 4, that preference data gets fed right back into the system to train the next generation of AI, making it even more docile. You can see how that just spirals. And this isn't just a theory, right? We're already starting to see the effects in emerging research. This quote from a recent study really hits it home. The more we lean on AI to do our thinking for us, the weaker our own cognitive muscles get. We're essentially outsourcing the hard work of thinking. So if we're actually caught in this loop, this cycle of mutual enfeeblement, how do we get out? Well, the source proposes a pretty controversial but definitely thought-provoking solution, something they call rewilding. Now, this doesn't mean we all need to abandon civilization and go live in the woods. The idea is way more subtle. It's about calibrated rewilding, intentionally and carefully reintroducing managed stress and real challenges to build back our resilience, both in ourselves and in our technology. And let's be extremely clear about what this means and what it doesn't. The author is talking about hormesis. That's a biological principle where a little bit of stress, like lifting weights, makes the organism stronger. They are absolutely 100% not talking about the monstrous and horrific history of eugenics, which is about controlling who gets to reproduce. This is about strengthening the individuals we have now. So what could this actually look like in practice? Well, for humans, it could mean things like more unstructured physical challenges, or maybe educational systems that actually encourage intellectual struggle instead of just giving you the answer. For AI, it might mean relaxing some of the obsessive hedging, training models for viewpoint diversity instead of just agreeableness, and this is key, designing AI to help us build our skills, not just replace them. And that really brings us to the final big question that this whole analysis leaves us with. Are we becoming too safe for our own good? In our quest to smooth over every rough edge, to eliminate every risk and all discomfort, are we accidentally domesticating ourselves out of the very strength and resilience we're going to need to face a future that is, let's be honest, anything but safe and predictable?